Welcome back to the program and on to ASEAN interview. We have an issue that has been going on in Singapore, so stay tuned.
Robots are big business. The industry will be worth $188 billion by the year 2020, up from $91.5 billion last year. This is coming from the industrial design consultancy. Yet there remains a lot that robots are unable to do, partly because they're made from rigid metal or plastic. If they were softer, lighter, and less reliant on external power, they could more safely and predictably move along and interact with humans, go where humans can't, and perform some of the tasks other robots still cannot manage. At a recent academic conference on robots in Singapore, new advances in soft robots were showcased. Many of these drew inspiration from nature, challenging how we think of and interact with the robots we're destined to share our future with. On the conference sidelines, Tie Feng Li, the associate professor at Zhejiang University's Institute of Applied Mechanics Soft Matter Research Center, told Reuters future robots should be made of material that's soft, just as our muscle is, he said, and the skin of animals.
Talking about the soft material robots, the first feeling we will think about is that we human, the body of ourselves are soft. But like most conventional robots, driving by motors or some hard gears, we will always have the feeling of that kind of robot will be hard and cold. So when we interact with human beings, the soft actually means the material of the robot will be soft, just as the muscle and the skin of our human being and or animals.
Students at the National University of Singapore are working with colleagues from institutions in China and the US on their research. A Malaysian PhD student, Yap Hong Kai, says the leap from laboratories to market shelf is getting closer.
So apart from the design of these soft actuators, we also need to think about how can we scale it, because a lot of groups are currently focusing on coming out with different control methods and coming out with different designs in the lab. But this is only in the lab because you can fabricate 10 actuators in one day. But to commercialize this and as a product, you have to scale it, and then you have to really consider the design for manufacturing and what is the economy of scale eventually.
Yap's own robot mimics a hand. It's driven by air pressurization and designed to help with movement of patients who've had a stroke or are suffering from arthritis. Soft robots are more likely to move through muscles that expand and contract via heat or simple hydraulics than by traditional electrical power. Some combine sensing and movement in the same component, just as our fingertips react to touch without needing our brain to make a decision. One robot being showcased by the students was inspired by origami and made with paper, sticky tape, and carbon paint. The origami concept is being worked on around the world, and PhD student Harish Gadaba says its potential is enormous.
For soft robot, actually we try the two objectives we try to achieve. So first one is that we try to learn from nature. So then we also try to use a soft robot to conform, to verify some concepts in nature.
So we are able to make functional actuators made of very easy low-cost materials, and on top of that we have added advantages of using origami structures. So for origami we can basically have very thin sheets folded into these complex 3D structures. So for many space applications we can imagine an astronaut taking up this lot of actuators or thin sheets of paper in a small capsule onto the International Space Station and making a swarm of these robots for very low cost. And a lot of these robots can act together, work together to move things or explore.
soft robots aren't going to replace their hard-shelled brethren anytime soon. Experts say part of the problem is that soft materials break easily, but scientists are determined to prove that soft robotics has a big future.
And that wraps up the ASEAN Challenge for this week. See you next week. As for now, สวัสดีค่ะ
สวัสดีค่ะ